On a hot summer afternoon, brother-in-law Zhang Wu and sister-in-law Su Pyong were working in the pepper field. Suddenly, rain began to pour down. They ran together, hurrying to the hut. Arriving at the hut, they stared at each other, out of breath. Their rain-soaked clothes clung to their bodies. Su Jin's thin t-shirt was transparent, and Yingwu's shirt revealed his chest muscles. "I need to change quickly," Yingwu said, and began taking off his shirt. Su Jin, too, felt uncomfortable in her wet clothes. "I'll change too." Just as she was about to enter the room, Yingwu grabbed her wrist. "Sujin." Yingwu's voice held a different emotion. Su Pyong turned and met Yingwu's earnest gaze. "Brother-in-law, I can't take it anymore. I love you so much." Yingwu's confession echoed with the sound of the rain. "Me too, brother-in-law. I love you so much, too." Sujin replied with a trembling voice. This sudden moment, triggered by a donkey, would completely change the fate of his sister-in-law and brother-in-law. Kim Jang-hoon, 55, was farming peppers alone in a mountain village in Changcheong Province 2 years after losing his wife. He had been a civil servant in Seoul, but after his wife's death, he had packed up everything and moved here. One sweltering July afternoon, Zhang Wu was watering the pepper field with a hoe, his upper garment bare. 2 years of farming had made his shoulders and arms much more toned. Beads of sweat glistened in the sunlight on his tan skin. Zhang Wu turned in surprise and saw 48-year-old Li Sujin standing there. Su Jin was Zhang Wu's sister-in-law, who had divorced him a month earlier after 7 years of marriage. She stood there wearing a light mint-colored dress and dragging a large bag. Zhang Wu, aware of his naked torso, quickly grabbed a gray shirt from the hanging basket and put it on. But as he buttoned up the buttons, he felt Sujin's gaze drifting to his chest and stomach. "Sujin, what brings you here all of a sudden? You haven't even called yet." Sujin looked away and smiled awkwardly. "I came because I was worried that you were staying here alone, brother-in-law." There was a strange tremor in her voice. Zhang Wu looked at Sujin again. He wasn't the doting husband he'd seen before, but the image of a mature woman, perhaps because he'd lost some weight since the divorce. His facial features seemed more defined. "You've changed a lot," Sujin said, impressed by Zhang Wu's physique. The two went into a small hut to prepare dinner. The space, about 6 square meters, contained only a simple kitchen and one room. Zhang Wu laid out a mat on the living room floor and said he would sleep there. Sujin, while organizing her belongings in her room, glanced at Zhang Wu through the crack in the door. The way his back muscles moved as he changed his shirt caught her eye. She felt her heart pounding without realizing it. As the night deepened, the hut grew quiet. Through the thin wall between them, they felt each other's presence vividly. Sujin tossed and turned, staring at the ceiling. Was her brother-in-law truly this attractive? Zhang Wu couldn't sleep either. Sujin, whom he had only thought of as a sister-in-law, was now approaching him as a woman. He wondered if his feelings were wrong. They finally managed to fall asleep after 3 a.m. the next morning. Zhang Wu woke up early, as was his habit. Sujin joined him, offering to help with the farming. She followed him to the pepper field, dressed in a comfortable white t-shirt and jeans. "Be careful, the ground is uneven and slippery," Zhang Wu warned, teaching Sujin how to pick peppers. Round 10 a.m., Sujin stumbled while picking peppers. She nearly fell backward. but Jangwoo quickly ran over and wrapped his arms round her waist. Jangwoo's thick arms held her slender waist tightly. Soojin placed her hand on Jangwoo's chest for balance. At that moment, she felt his heartbeat quicken, her fingertips sensing it. "It's okay," Jangwoo asked worriedly, but she didn't pull away. "Yes, thank you, brother-in-law." Soojin also remained on Jangwoo's chest, her hand still. A few seconds of silence passed. By 1 p.m., the heat had become intense. Beads of sweat formed on Soojin's forehead and neck. Even her white t-shirt was soaked with sweat and clung to her body. Jangwoo brought a glass of cold water and handed it to Soojin. "Don't overdo it. You'll get heat stroke." Then, he casually placed his hand on Soojin's shoulder. Jangwoo's hand gently stroked Soojin's shoulder. Soojin felt a subtle shiver run through her body at the touch. "Your arm has really gained strength," Sun-hyuk said, lightly touching Jangwoo's forearm. Jangwoo's muscles hardened in response to her touch. After half a day off, the two went into the cramped pub to prepare dinner. The space between the refrigerator and the stove was so narrow that their bodies frequently brushed against each other. As Soojin turned to retrieve a dish, her back brushed against Jangwoo's chest. "I'm sorry," Jangwoo tried to back away, but the wall behind him blocked his movement. Soojin leaned back against Jangwoo's chest for a few seconds. Jangwoo's heavy breathing echoed against the back of her neck. Neither of them moved, savoring the moment. "Soojin, Jangwoo," he said, his voice low, as Soojin slowly turned. Their faces were only 20 centimeters apart. Jangwoo's dark eyes met Soojin's trembling ones. Just then, the sound of a farmer's tools came from outside. They both jumped, pulling away. It was the sound of a neighboring farmer passing by that night. Soojin covered herself with the thin summer blanket Jangwoo had given her and lay down. But she couldn't sleep, recalling the intimate moments they'd shared during the day. The warmth of Jangwoo's body and the feel of his rough hands were vivid. Jangwoo felt the same. The feel of Soojin's soft shoulders and slender waist lingered in his hand. He was confused as to whether these feelings were valid. On the third day, Soojin appeared in slightly shorter shorts and a thin, sleeveless t-shirt. Her pale legs and shoulder line were even more clearly visible. Jangwoo tried to look away, but he couldn't help but look up at her. While doing farm work in the morning, a small bug landed on Soojin's back. "Brother-in-law, I think there's something stuck to my back. Can you remove it?" Suk-young asked, turning his back. While Jangwoo carefully removed the bug, his hand traced the curve of Soojin's back. Her soft skin, even through the t-shirt, stimulated his senses. Soojin shivered slightly under Jangwoo's touch. "Okay?" Jangwoo asked, but didn't immediately pull his hand away. "Yes, thank you." Soojin remained in that same spot. By lunchtime, Soojin complained of a sore neck and shoulders. It was her first time working on the farm, and her whole body was aching. "Brother-in-law, can you give me a massage?" She sat down in front of Jangwoo and asked him a favor. Jangwoo hesitated, but couldn't refuse. He carefully began kneading Soojin's shoulders. The slender line of her neck and the curve of her shoulders came into his view. "Oh, it feels so good." Soojin let out a small sigh and relaxed. Jangwoo's hands gradually relaxed his shoulder muscles. Soojin closed his eyes and savored the sensation. The warmth of Jangwoo's rough hands spread throughout his body. As evening fell, Soojin said she wanted to shower first. He went to the back of the hut and heard the sound of water running from the shower. Jungwoo tried not to focus on the sound as he prepared dinner in the kitchen. 30 minutes later, Sujin emerged from her shower, but she was wearing only a thin dress. Her wet hair flowed down her shoulders, creating a mysterious aura. The towel was too small to dry her hair properly. As Sujin spoke, she shook her hair, and water droplets ran down her shoulders. Jungwoo felt his throat dry. Sujin's wet hair, exposed shoulders, and the silhouette peeking through her thin clothes shook his senses. "Brother-in-law, you should wash up quickly. I'll prepare dinner," Sujin said with a smile. But her eyes held a strange anticipation. While Jungwoo showered, Sujin stood in front of the living room mirror. She checked herself out, wondering what Jungwoo would think. Am I being too aggressive? When Jungwoo came out of the shower, Sujin was setting the dinner table. Every time she bent down to place a plate, the lines of her dress moved. Jungwoo tried to look away, but it wasn't easy. "Sit down, brother-in-law," Sujin said, pointing to the seat next to Jungwoo. During the meal, Sujin's arm frequently brushed against Jungwoo's. Each time, they both stopped moving and looked at each other. A strange tension hung in the air. "Brother-in-law, look at Jungwoo," cautiously speaking. "I've changed a lot, haven't I?" she asked, as if checking herself in the mirror. Jungwoo couldn't answer, simply staring at Sujin. At that moment, an indescribable emotion flowed between them. On Friday night, a week later, Jungwoo brought out some makgeolli, the first he'd had in a long time. Sujin offered to join him and sat down next to him. She was still wearing her thin dress. "Don't you get lonely when you're alone, brother-in-law?" Sujin asked after a glass of makgeolli. "Yes," Jungwoo answered honestly, "especially at night." As the alcohol gradually subsided, their conversation deepened. Sujin shared the pain she'd endured during her divorce, and Jungwoo shared the grief of losing his wife. "We're both deeply wounded," Sujin said with a sad smile. "That's right, but talking to you makes me feel better." Sujin's cheeks flushed slightly at Jungwoo's words. As time passed, Sujin gradually moved closer to Jungwoo. Before he knew it, her shoulder was resting against Jungwoo's arm. Jungwoo remained motionless, feeling the warmth. "Sujin," his brother-in-law said, leaning his head against Jungwoo's lap. "Excuse me, aren't I prettier than you?" she asked in a drunken voice. Jungwoo looked down at Sujin, flustered. Her wet eyes stared back at him. Jungwoo's hand began to stroke Sujin's hair. "Sujin," Jungwoo's voice became lower and rougher than usual. He slowly rose to face Jungwoo. Their faces grew closer. Jungwoo's hand gently stroked Sujin's cheek. "Can we really do this?" Jungwoo asked with a trembling voice. "I don't know, but I like you, brother and law. Sujin closed her eyes and answered. Just before their lips touched, Jungwoo suddenly came to his senses. He pulled away from Sujin and stood up. "No, we can't do this." Sujin looked at Jungwoo with a bewildered expression. "I'm sorry, Sujin." Jungwoo turned his head away, feeling like he was using you. Sujin suppressed her disappointment and got up. "I'll go in first." She closed the door as she entered the room. Jungwoo was left alone in the living room, clutching his head, but a part of her heart still harbored regret. She kept picturing Sujin's soft skin and trembling eyes. In the room, Sujin couldn't sleep either. I'll pretend I don't remember this tomorrow morning. She pulled the blanket over herself and tried to soothe her troubled feelings, but neither of them could forget what happened that night. They realized their feelings for each other had reached a point of no return. It wasn't until after 3 a.m. that the uniqueness of the 10 finally arrived. But beyond the thin bottle, their excitement and confusion still mingled. The next morning, they exchanged awkward greetings. Soo-jin pretended not to know what had happened the night before, and Young-woo tried to act as usual. But there was a change in the way they looked at each other. In the afternoon, rain suddenly began to pour down. The two ran from the pepper field into the hut. Their wet clothes clung to their bodies. "I need to change quickly," Young-woo said, and began taking off his shirt. Soo-jin felt uncomfortable in her wet clothes too. "I'll change too." The moment she entered the room, Young-woo grabbed her wrist. "Soo-jin," Young-woo's voice held a different conviction than last night. As they regained their composure, they met Young-woo's earnest gaze. "Brother-in-law, I guess I misunderstood last night," Young-woo said, taking Soo-jin's hand. "I can't take it anymore. I love you so much." Tears welled up in Soo-jin's eyes at Young-woo's confession. "Me too, brother-in-law. I love you so much, too," Soo-jin answered with a trembling voice. Jung-woo cupped Soo-jin's cheek and slowly brought their faces closer. This time, no one stopped them. Their lips finally met. The kiss, cautious at first, deepened. Jung-woo's hand wrapped around Soo-jin's waist, and Soo-jin's arm slung around his neck. It was a moment so hot she couldn't even feel the cold of her wet clothes. "Are you really okay?" Jung-woo kissed Soo-jin's forehead for a final time, confirming, "Yes, you won't regret it," Soo-jin replied with a confident voice. At that moment, Jung-woo carefully lifted Soo-jin into his arms. Her light body naturally swayed in his arms. Soo-jin buried her face in Jung-woo's shoulder, breathing deeply in his masculine scent. As they walked to their room, their hearts raced. The moment to cross that forbidden line was finally approaching. The room was dark due to the overcast weather. As Jung-woo carefully placed Soo-jin down, she turned on the small light next to her. A warm orange light softly illuminated the room. "Soo-jina," Jung-woo called her name and hugged her again. This time, there was no more hesitation. They slowly removed each other's wet clothes and opened their hearts. Everything was natural and beautiful. The rain was still falling heavily outside, but the room was warm with their bodies. Sweet, tender moments, as if time had stopped, continued. Jung-woo felt like he was rediscovering his long-forgotten manhood. He felt his heart, which had been so cold since losing his wife, regaining its vitality. Soo-jin, too, felt true love for the first time since her divorce. Her wounded heart seemed to be healing with Jung-woo's warmth. After completely entrusting their hearts and bodies to each other, they held each other in silence. The sound of rain could still be heard outside the window, but even that sound felt like the most beautiful music in the world to them. "There's really no turning back now," Soo-jin whispered happily, burying her face in Jung-woo's chest. "It doesn't matter. I think this is our destiny." Jung-woo patted Soo-jin's head and replied warmly, "I don't know what will happen in the future, but this moment is perfect." Jung-woo looked up at Jung-yoo and smiled. Jung-woo, in turn, looked at her and smiled angrily. "Yes, right now is the happiest I've ever been." That afternoon, Sun Nagi completely transformed their relationship. They were no longer just brother-in-law and sister-in-law, but a man and woman who truly loved each other. Until the rain stopped and the sun rose again, they felt each other, promising a new beginning. They didn't know how much time they had left, but this moment was the most precious time in the world. The next morning, Jungwoo woke up before Sujin. The dawn was so quiet that it felt like the previous night had been a dream. But when he saw Sujin sleeping next to him, he realized everything was real. Jungwoo quietly got up and went outside for a cigarette. He usually didn't smoke, but he wanted to soothe his complicated feelings. Can we really be like this? An hour later, Jin woke up. When Jungwoo disappeared, she became anxious and went outside. She found him smoking a cigarette in a corner of the pepper field. Sujin approached cautiously. Jungwoo put out his cigarette and turned to look at her. "You're up early. Didn't you get enough sleep?" Sujin's voice was laced with worry. Instead of answering, Jungwoo sighed. "Sujin, maybe we made a mistake." Sujin's face hardened. "Are you saying it was a mistake?" "No, I'm just sorry to you," Jungwoo said, turning his head. Sujin couldn't hide her disappointment. "I'm not sorry at all." An awkward atmosphere hung between them all day. They worked together on the farm, but their conversations dwindled. Jungwoo was constantly plagued by guilt, and Sujin was hurt by his changed attitude. When evening came, Sujin was the first to speak. "Brother-in-law, should I sleep somewhere else?" "Why?" Jungwoo suddenly asked, flustered. "Because you seem uncomfortable." Sujin's voice grew cold. Jungwoo realized he had hurt her feelings. "That's not it, Sujin." "Then what was it? What happened last night?" The emotions he'd been holding back exploded. Jungwoo clutched his head. He felt like he'd hurt Sujin in his own confusion. "I'm sorry, Sujin. I guess I was too scared." Jungwoo poured out his heart. "What are you afraid of?" Suji asked, tears welling up in his eyes. Jungwoo's voice held a sincere concern about what the world would think of their relationship. Suji understood Jungwoo's feelings. She knew that becoming a lover, like a brother-in-law and sister-in-law, wasn't easy. "I'm scared too, but I can't give up on him," Suji said, holding Jungwoo's hand. That night, the two slept in separate rooms. But around 2 a.m., Jungwoo knocked cautiously on Sujin's door. "Sujin, come on." The door opened, and Sujin appeared, her face streaked with tears. "Brother-in-law too." Jungwoo couldn't bear it any longer. He hugged Sujin tightly and said, "I'm sorry. I was a fool. If you do this again, there'll be no turning back." Sujin spoke with a trembling voice. "It doesn't matter. I can't do it without you." Jungwoo's confession brought fresh tears to Sujin's eyes. This time, there was no more hesitation. The two confirmed their feelings for each other and shared their love once again. Now, their confidence in each other outweighed their guilt. 2 weeks after Sujin arrived at the hut, rumors began to circulate among the villagers. They said Jang Won's sister-in-law had come and stayed at Jang Won's house. A young woman had entered a house where a man lived alone, and the village head, Kim, came to see Jungwoo. "Jungwoo, the villagers seem a little suspicious," Jungwoo asked, flustered. The village head's words caused Jungwoo to break out in a cold sweat. Sujin also felt the stares of people as she shopped at the supermarket. That evening, Jungwoo relayed to Sujin the villagers' reaction. That woman divorced Jungwoo's wife and went straight to her brother's house. People are already suspicious. Soo Jin's face darkened. I guess I stayed too long. No, it's not that. People are misunderstanding. Jang Woo comforted Soo Jin, but neither of them could hide their unease. A few days later, a bigger problem rose. Jang Woo's college classmate, Park Min-soo, suddenly contacted them, saying he was coming to visit the farm. Jang Woo, I'm scheduled to arrive tomorrow morning. It's a surprise visit. Jang Woo hurriedly explained the situation to Soo Jin. What if my friend comes tomorrow? Where should I go for a day? Soo Jin suggested. But his sudden disappearance was also strange. The next morning, Min-soo arrived. Jang Woo introduced Soo Jin as his cousin. Oh, so you're my cousin. Hello, Min-soo greeted her without much suspicion. However, there were a few dangerous moments during their time together. During lunch, Min-soo asked, What's my cousin doing here? I'm here to sort things out after my divorce. Jang Woo quickly replied, Oh, I see. But they're so natural together. Min-soo's keen observation made Jang Woo and Soo Jin tense. There was another dangerous moment while preparing dinner. Seong-gyeon tried to casually touch Jang Woo's back, but stopped when he felt Min-soo's gaze. Something felt off. They seemed too close for a cousin. Min-soo tried to sneak a peek at Jang Woo. That night, after Min-soo fell asleep, Jang Woo and Soo Jin quietly went outside. I almost got caught, Soo Jin said, brushing her chest. That's right. My friend's eyes are so quick. Jang Woo sighed in relief. The next day, as Min-soo left, he spoke for the last time. Jang Woo, be careful. Even if you're a cousin, if a woman stays in a house where a man lives alone for too long, it's easy for misunderstandings to rise. After Min-soo left, Jang Woo and Soo Jin had a serious discussion. I don't think we can continue living like this, Jang Woo said, his voice heavy. Just then, a message arrived on Soo Jin's phone. It was about relatives gathering for her sister's 3rd anniversary memorial service. All the relatives were there for the memorial service. What should we do? Jang Woo had to attend. There was a high chance their relationship would be discovered there. We still have time. Let's think it over slowly. But neither of them could hide their anxiety. They felt the wall of reality rising higher and higher. The memorial service was 2 weeks away. Jang Woo and Soo Jin agonized over this issue every day. They were at a loss as to how to explain their relationship to their relatives when they met at the service. Soo Jin couldn't sleep at night. The gazes of the villagers, the reactions of her relatives, and the anxiety about the future tormented her. Even while working the farm, Jang Woo was lost in his own thoughts. One evening, Soo Jin quietly approached him. Jang Woo was lost in thought, gazing at the pepper field. Soo Jin watched him for a long time. Soo Jin, her brother-in-law, called out to her in a trembling voice. When Jang Woo turned around, tears were already welling up in her eyes. The moment he saw her expression, Jang Woo knew what she was trying to say. Soo Jin had been making up her mind for several days. She truly loved Jang Woo, so she didn't want to make him suffer any longer. She had decided to accept the reality that she couldn't escape her relationship with her brother-in-law. I'm going back to Seoul. Jang Woo was taken aback by Soo Jin's words. Jang Woo tried to take Soo Jin's hand, but she took a step back. Soo Jin had already prepared herself. Her eyes, looking at Jang Woo, were filled with sadness and a firm resolve. No matter how much we love, the world won't accept us. Sujin poured out her heart, tears streaming down her face. Jangwoo wanted to refute, but the words wouldn't come. He remembered the stares from the villagers and the suspicious gazes from his friend he'd endured over the past few weeks. He knew Sujin wasn't wrong. Sujin had prepared her bag in advance. She quietly packed while Jangwoo was out on his farm. Since she hadn't brought much, it didn't take long to unpack. "How long have you been thinking about this?" Jangwoo asked weakly. Sujin didn't answer, just nodded. Actually, she'd been making this decision for a week. She loved Jangwoo, but she didn't want to embarrass him any further. It was their last night. The two sat side by side in front of the hut, gazing at the stars. The silent passage of time was indescribably precious. Jeong-ho leaned his shoulder against Sujin's. Sujin, feeling the warmth, tried to remember their final moments. They both knew this was the end. As dawn broke, Sujin woke first. Jangwoo offered to take her to the bus stop, but Sujin said she wanted to go alone. He couldn't go with her because it hurt too much. "Take care, brother-in-law." Sujin said his final goodbye. "You two, live happily." Jungwoo managed to reply "Suj" and walked away without looking back. Jungwoo stayed there until she was out of sight. He felt the hollow pain in his chest after the bus left. Jungwoo returned to the hut alone. The room Sujin had used was empty. Only his friend had been neatly organized, and there was no trace of her. He went out to the pepper field and started working. Memories of working hard with Sujin came flooding back. But now, these were tasks he had to handle alone. A few months passed. Jungwoo gradually adapted to life without Sujin. The villagers no longer seemed to agree. Everything had become as peaceful as before. Sujin was also starting a new life in Seoul. She had started a part-time job at a small cafe and was meeting new people. But sometimes memories from the countryside came back to him, and his heart ached. A year later, Jangwoo received a letter from Sujin. It said she had met someone new and was getting married. Jangwoo felt a mixture of emotions as he read the letter. At the end of the letter, it read, "The time I spent with you, my brother-in-law, is the most precious memory of my life. I hope you always stay healthy and happy." Jangwoo smiled as he folded the letter. Just knowing that Sujin was happy was enough for him. Looking at the pepper field, he began a new day. Sometimes letting go is more beautiful than staying together. Jangwoo and Sujin's love was like that. Their short but sincere time together will remain in each of their hearts forever.